All right, this is our next episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions, more of a pay-per-view retro series. We're going over Summerslam 1997. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank. Let's get into this, man. This is a pretty decent card. A lot better than what we've seen in the past couple of years. This was kind of the first time that they did this in the beginning of August. Normally they would wait until the end of summer, maybe even
Yeah,
the middle. I mean, this was August 3rd, 1997, East Rutherford, New Jersey. 20,213 fans on hand. And I believe this wasn't a brand new stadium, but it was renamed at this point. It wasn't no longer the Meadowlands Arena. It was Continental, I believe, which doesn't really
it's
make a
still a
difference.
still a shithole anyway.
It's still Jersey, so
You know,
if nobody knows, it's a New York, New Jersey thing. In any event, the night started off pretty good. It started off with a steel cage match between Mankind and Hunter Hearst Helmsley with China in his corner. This rivalry was pretty decent in 1997. Went back a little before the King of the Ring and culminated here. Because remember they also had their fight at King of the Ring '97. So this is a good feud coming with Mankind coming off of the Undertaker, and then the beginning of the year they had no idea what they were going to do with him, and so this was kind of they revitalized him a little bit. He's a fan favorite. And I like this match mainly because if you remember, they're all chanting Jimmy Snuka towards the end of this match.
because he had the match. He had the match won. He climbed out. He was about to climb down, and then he decides to go back up there. And because they had shown how Superfly was his inspiration.
Yes. He was there the night that he went off the cage on Morocco.
Yeah.
So they wanted him to mimic that.
Yeah.
And he
So,
sort of did well with an
he did an
elbow, not
elbow
the
drop.
splash,
Yeah.
but it was still awesome to see him do it.
That was cool. I like that spot. I
I
thought he
love
was
how the
going to
fans
cost
went
himself the
nuts.
match, though. Watching this.
Yeah, because how many
Like,
times have we seen that before
yeah.
where they've got like Rick Rude in 1990? He had the match won and decides, no, I want to inflict more punishment on Warrior. So, I kind of thought if he did this that Triple H was going to get over on him.
But no.
And I thought Mankind was out of it because you remember you did that steel cage shot that China gave him. Oh my God! And then she throws Jimmy Corderas into the steps, and I thought he busted his head wide open. I'm like, damn, girl, chill. Really aggressive there, but it was a good match. 16 minutes, 13 seconds. Mankind comes away with the victory, which,
Trying to try to drag him out too. It was like you thought that she was going to be able to pull Hunter out because as Mankind is climbing down, she's pulling Hunter out of the ring. So you think like, oh no, but Mankind is able to still win the match.
yeah, the only thing I didn't like was when the match started, Hunter immediately ran for the door, which is a cheesy heel move that we always see. And I'm just like, all right, come on, stop.
No,
Just
he
fight
didn't want to
now.
be locked in there with that maniac. That's what it was. So
Well, I don't blame him, but this will be the first of many cage matches
yeah,
between the two over the years. But but at least in this case, Mankind gets this victory over him.
yeah.
So our next match had a special stipulation to it. It was Goldust versus Brian Pillman, where if Goldust wins, Pillman has to wear a dress the next night on Monday Night Raw, which as many times as Jim Ross said it, we're going on an hour later tomorrow.
Mm.
Even Vince got told him, all right, enough. Because I think it was like 6 times he mentioned that.
You wanted to get the point across.
I think we got it. If anybody was watching Raw at that point, because WCW was just killing them at this point.
97. I think they're already starting to do better. I think the ratings went up from 96. I think I'm not positive, but
It was a slow process
yeah,
until '98, but yeah, this you could say this was around the start, maybe a little before it of it because of the rivalries they had going. Brett never looked better in character as far as a heel with the faction. Austin's coming into his own. I mean, you had a bunch of
yeah.
things that were clicking at this point. So this was actually one of my Goldberg. Oh yeah, Goldberg. Okay, Goldust favorites. I really like this match. This was before everything went downhill from when Marlena was the storyline where she's leaving him and all this nonsense. And I didn't. Then the character just totally went chaotic, and it was just ridiculous. I do like the fact that they did mention him as Dusty Rhodes' son, which was a rare thing back then because they really didn't do it. And of course, Lawler's throwing in his cheap shots too, saying, "Oh, Dusty's in drag too." So I mean, and it was weird that they mentioned him considering he's in WCW. So
I think they mentioned it because I think during this time period, I think Goldust gave a speech where he mentioned his father. I think it's been a
yeah, I
long
think
time. I
so.
haven't seen this, but I think he gave a speech and he referenced him.
I mean, everybody knew who he was, the character. I mean,
So
even though he had the gimmick, we all knew who he was. So this was a 7 minute, 17-second match. Goldust gets the victory over Brian Pillman, which I mean, I liked the outcome. I was just kind of hoping Pillman got a break because he didn't have too many of those in WWE.
yeah, well, because of
And
his health.
yeah, they both wrestled a good match. You know, Pillman showed he still had it. Unfortunately, this would be one of the final times we saw him in the ring.
Yeah.
Goldust always was a good technical wrestler in the ring too, so the match was pretty decent. So from there now we go to a grudge match of sorts in the tag team division, the Legion of Doom versus the Godwins, and this was coming off of the Henry Godwin injury with the neck, with the Doomsday device where he broke his neck,
Yeah.
and so the Godwins had a little bit of revenge on their mind, and so Legion of Doom, by this point, you know, they're undefeated at SummerSlam, so they got that going for them. Because remember, they won 91 and 92.
Yeah, the streak. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we really call it that at 2? Well, you can make it 3 because at 9 minutes, 15 seconds, the Legion of Doom beat the Godwins and then signaled that they're interested in a tag team title run, which is currently held by, was it Dude Love and Steve Austin. So, you know, they were going to gun for them, but they didn't get a shot at them. So, but I thought it was a decent match. Two good tag teams at this point. You know, like I said, the tag team division was slowly starting to get better. I mean, the Godwins were good. I mean, again, I'm not saying they're all stars, but they were decent. So now from there, was it at this point yet? And because I got to make because I still couldn't believe she came out. Was it this point or later that Christy Whitman comes out? I think it was later.
Oh, to announce the
bringing them back to Jersey because of the pro wrestling tax.
Nobody cares about that.
They were booing her. Of course they're going to boo her. They don't like politicians. I just couldn't believe the headbangers were out there with her.
Yeah.
And then they gave her the honorary title the Monsoon gives her.
Yeah. I got to take a piss when that came on, so I have nothing to say about it.
It was Christy Whitman. Who cares? In any event, our next match was the first title defense of the evening. It was the British Bulldog defending the European title against Ken Shamrock. And what's funny is, as they're making their way to the ring, they're advertising the pay-per-view for one night only. And they're telling everybody that the British Bulldog is defending the title against Shawn Michaels.
So you already know that he's not going to lose the belt.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so and I guess I didn't catch this when I watched it live. But as I'm watching it now, I'm like, okay, so we know the outcome.
Right.
And this feud was stemming from, if you remember, they had the arm wrestling contest on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Bulldog cheated and eventually threw dog food in Shamrock's face.
Yeah.
So the stipulation in this one was if Shamrock won, then he got to do it to the Bulldog. This match was pretty good, considering Shamrock was still trying to learn how to wrestle, which he didn't do, a bad job. Bulldog and him did a good match. Bulldog wins by disqualification because he decides to throw the dog food into his face. By this time, Shamrock snaps and just went off on him, gets disqualified. And not only
he choked him out.
Yeah, you could see him turning blue.
Yeah.
And then he takes his anger out on the referees, and I'm like, all right, goodbye, Jimmy Corderas, goodbye, whatever your name is. And there goes Patterson, there goes Briscoe. And this was the famous that people like to get out of my way.
Yeah.
Like
that
was cool. Red.
He was believable.
Yeah, this was the start of that, especially when he went into 1998's feud with The Rock. So the match was pretty good. Again, Bulldog keeps the title, of course, because we've just been advertised his next title shot, which would be his last. Our next matchup was, I don't know, I thought it was a stinker. 8-man tag team match, DOA, Disciples of Apocalypse versus Los Poriquas. I mean, this is the only reason why these groups were brought in was to just beat the crap out of each other. Just to fight each other.
I never liked the whole gang war stuff. I was never into it.
I mean, two of those guys on the Los Poriquas were second generation wrestlers, Jose Estrada and then I think Miguel Perez was the other one. They never did anything with them. Jose Estrada was actually in WWE way back in the day. He was there with them for quite some time.
Savio had just gotten dumped out of the nation, and Crush had just got
Crush.
So they made their own gangs.
So you have the Harris brothers and Brian Lee, or the Undertaker and the Blue Brothers, whatever you want to call them. I call them the re-gimmicked because that's all they are.
Yeah, I thought it was trash.
I like Dio way better when it was just the Harris brothers, Skull and 8-Ball, as just a tag team.
Yeah, I guess they were fine, but whatever.
But there was nothing that was ever going to happen. Their careers were never going to advance because this was always going to be a gang war, including the nation too. Yeah. And by this point, our boy Ahmed's in the nation. Was in the nation domination because he's out there all dressed up in his weird ass outfits.
And he had just come back for, I guess he was hurt, and he came back.
And he was in the nation for literally a minute.
He gets kicked out shortly after that. He never fit in the nation. So.
And by this point, when they put him in, the feud was going too long anyway. Then the feud continues after that. And by the Royal Rumble, nobody cared about him. So this was a 9-minute, 8-second torture. Los Poriquas actually gets the victory, despite the fact that there's a 12-man brawl going on during this, and the referee's still letting the match go. So it was what it was. Our next match was one of my favorites of the night. For the Intercontinental Championship, it was Owen Hart defending against Stone Cold Steve Austin, with the stipulation that if Austin lost, he had to kiss Owen's butt or ass, whatever. It's PG-13 here. So we all knew that Austin was going to win the title.
Yeah,
I mean, it was his time. The match itself was pretty good up until the uh-oh moment.
Yeah.
And that was the pile driver that just went wrong. He had his head too far extended, and he knew he screwed up. Austin was just a mess. You could see that him laying there. And I mean, I give him all the credit in the world when he tried to roll him up. And you can see the referees telling him he's going to roll you up right now. I mean, that's the cheesiest pin in the world, but unfortunately, what happened, the fans bought it because, again, they knew he was hurt. And I'm really surprised he was able to walk out of the ring. Even though he was helped, I'm surprised he could walk.
Yeah,
that was very scary. And the fact that he came back from that and wrestled as long as he did with the pain until he finally had the surgery. I mean, this is what cut his career short, unfortunately. I mean, Steve Austin wins the Intercontinental title. Unfortunately, shortly after this, he had to forfeit it because he couldn't wrestle, and that's where the whole Austin Vince McMahon thing pretty much started. Hell, I feel like Cool Hand Luke. I'll work within your system. And then he stuns him. So that was pretty cool. It was a decent match. Well, actually, it was actually a good match.
It was a good match until he got hurt, unfortunately.
That and this next match were the best ones of the card. And our next match with a special guest referee, Shawn Michaels, for the WWE Championship, The Undertaker defending against Bret the Hitman Hart. Now, two stipulations in this match. Number one, if Bret Hart doesn't win the title, he will never wrestle on American soil again, which that happened. The other stipulation was that if Shawn Michaels did not call the match down the middle, he could never wrestle on American soil again. But we kind of knew where this was going. And this is where we all thought, why did he put the title on him, knowing that he would be probably vacating the WWE shortly?
It
just didn't make any sense.
They didn't know at that point yet.
Well, even when they did, and we talked about this, that the title should have been dropped, even if it was for Vader for a month, because he was feuding with him and the Patriot next. I mean, something had to happen prior to November. But anyway, this match was pretty good. It was 28 minutes, 10 seconds. Shawn called it down the middle. I mean, despite the fact that he had to deal with Paul Bearer coming down, and then Owen Hart and Brian Pillman coming down. And he got in Bret's face, and Jim Ross was saying that Shawn's calling it down the middle, and Vince is like, I don't really think so. He really was. I mean, I love the fact that when he got into Taker's face and Taker looks at him, he's like jumping back, like, whoa, big man, chill. But in the end, Shawn sees that, or senses that Bret used the chair against The Undertaker, calls him on it. Bret curses him out, spits at him. Shawn can't take it anymore. Goes to hit him with the chair. Hits the Undertaker instead, which you can see Taker was ready for because he moved into it. And he has no choice but to count the 3. So Bret Hart becomes the 5-time WWE champion. And now Shawn Michaels has got a date with death.
Yeah, I like how the match started though, when Bret just took the belt and started hitting the Undertaker before the bell rang. That was a cool way to start the match. And then Shawn's like trying to stop him, and then Shawn's like, ring the bell, ring the bell.
Yeah, let's just get this going.
Yeah,
come on.
Undertaker still even had his jacket on at that point.
This was a good story angle here because it set up Shawn Michaels now and the Undertaker, which is one of my best personal favorites. I always loved when the two of them got in the ring. And that would set up the Kane angle. And then Bret's on top of the world, which if they were going to do it, maybe should have been a little sooner than SummerSlam. But, it's 24 years ago, so it don't matter at this point. But, I mean, it ended on a high note. They had a good starting match, good ending match. This SummerSlam was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good SummerSlam. I thought it set him on the right path going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So
straight to Montreal.
Yep. So that's the end of our SummerSlam reviews for now. We're gonna get back to them eventually, but up next is gonna be Halloween Havoc 1993. So get ready for some WCW.
Stay awake, people.
Yeah. So please make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.
Take care, guys.